Welcome back. Inside the Messy Middle is a special series from the Inner Game of Change. This series explores what it means to carry responsibility between strategy and delivery, between what has been imagined and what must now be made real. In the last episode, we talked about acting before clarity arrives. This episode is about what happens next, when movement has begun and reality starts pushing back. The plan looked solid, the thinking was sound, and then reality had its way, or had its say. There is a moment in change that is quite universal. The plan has been designed, the direction has been set, people have started moving, and then things begin to feel different. I sometimes think of a line often attributed to Mike Tyson. He said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Now that might sound a little dramatic in an organizational setting, but in a quieter way, something similar happens in change. Reality has a way of challenging our assumptions, not because the plan was wrong, but because reality is always richer than the plan. What looked clear on paper begins to feel different in practice. Dependencies behave differently, timelines shift, people interpret things in unexpected ways, and there is a moment when you realize the plan will not survive reality in the way it was originally designed. The novelist Leo Tolstoy captures something similar when writing about war. He observed that once events begin, outcomes are shaped not just by the plan, but by the countless small interactions, decisions, and conditions that no plan can fully anticipate. In many ways, organizational change works like that. This is where the messy middle becomes real, because the people in the middle are the first to feel this shift. They see where things are not landing as expected. They notice where the plan does not quite fit the work, and they face a choice. Do we follow the plan exactly as it was designed, or do we begin adjusting it to fit reality? This is not a comfortable place to stand, because this is where ambiguity meets accountability. You are no longer just following instructions, you are interpreting them, and that can feel exposed. And perhaps this is where something else is worth noticing. Not everyone responds to a plan in the same way. Some people believe in it completely. They align closely, they push forward, they create momentum. We might call them champions. Some people begin shaping the plan. They test it, they adjust it, they try to make it work in the reality they are facing. We might call them shapers. And some people step back. They do not challenge the plan openly. They do not shape it either. They wait, waiting to see whether the plan will hold. We might call them watchers. You can see this dynamic clearly in something like AI deployment. The plan is often ambitious, the direction is compelling, but once it reaches teams, managers respond differently. Some managers fully back it. They support their people, they encourage experimentation, they create energy around the change. Others begin adapting it. They look at their context, they shape the plan to fit the work and the people, and others step back. They allow their teams to go through it. They watch, they wait, not because they are resistant, but because they are not yet convinced the plan will hold. And part of what sits underneath this is something quite human. When we are presented with a plan, we do not all see the same thing, even if the words are identical. Our brains interpret what we see through our past experience, our sense of risk, our confidence in the system, and our need for certainty. Some people move quickly toward action, others move toward caution, others toward observation. From a neuroscience perspective, the brain is trying to answer a simple question. Is this safe? If it feels safe, we move. If it feels unclear, we pause. If it feels risky, we hold back. So what looks different attitudes towards the plan is often different ways of processing uncertainty. And this is where the role of the middle begins to shift. The first shift is from following the plan to protecting the intent behind the plan. Because when reality begins to push back, the original steps may no longer fit, but the purpose still matters. So the question becomes, what are we really trying to achieve here? And how do we move forward in the conditions we now face? The second shift is from certainty to informed judgment. Decisions are no longer made because everything is clear. They are made because we know enough to take the next step, and we remain open to adjusting as we learn more. The third shift is recognizing that not everything can be escalated. Some things must be worked through locally. Quiet adjustments, small changes, subtle reinterpretations of the plan, not to undermine their strategy, but to make it work in practice. And this is where something important happens. Real adoption begins here, not when people follow the plan, but when they make the plan work in reality. The fourth shift is from control to learning. Instead of asking, are we following the plan, the question becomes, what are we learning as we move? Because it is that learning that strengthens the change over time. Inside the messy middle, this is where real change begins to take shape. Not when the plan is executed perfectly, but when people begin reshaping it to fit reality. Plans give direction, but it is judgment in the middle that gives change its chance to succeed. And perhaps this is the quiet truth. Plans are not meant to be believed in fully. They are meant to be worked through. Because inside the messy middle, clarity rarely arrives before movement. More often, it appears because people were willing to begin. Until next time.